Hey guys, today I'm gonna do a study on Genesis chapter 41, so let's get into it. At the end of 2 years, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing beside the Nile when 7 healthy-looking, wet-fed cows came up from the Nile and began to graze among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows, sickly and dead, came up from the Nile and stood beside those cows along the bank of the Nile. The sickly dead cows ate the healthy, wet-fed cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep and dreamt 7 times. 7 heads of grain, plump and good, came up on one stalk. After them, 7 heads of grain, thin and scorched by the east wind, sprouted up. The thin heads of the grain swallowed up the 7 plump full ones. Then fell up, and it was only a dream. So we see that Pharaoh had 2 dreams. With at the end of 2 years, so I think 2 years after the chief cupbearer, after Joseph interpreted the chief cupbearers and the baker's dreams, and they came to fruition. So after 2 years after that, Pharaoh had 2 dreams, and 7 healthy-looking, well-fed cows came from the Nile and began to and the gaze on the reed. And then another 7 sickly din cows, also came up from the Nile. But the sickly din cows ate the healthy, well-fed cows, and that was the fourth dream. And then 7 heads of grain, plump and good, came up on one stalk, and then another 7 heads of grain sprouted up. And then the dead heads of grain swallowed up the 7 plump ones. So we see in both these dreams that there seems to be 7 good-looking things. So there were 7 good-looking cows and 7 good-looking grains, but then they were bad-looking cows and bad-looking grain that consume the good-looking cows and grain. When morning came, he was troubled, so he summoned all the magicians of Egypt and all its wise men. Pharaoh told him his dream, but no one could interpret them for him. So when morning came, he was troubled because all those dreams are pretty weird, and he was confused by them. So he summoned all the magicians of Egypt and all its wise men. Pharaoh told him his dream, but no one could interpret them for him. Because we've seen previously, Joseph said, "We had dreams," they said to him, "but there was no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dream." Because the interpretations belong to God. So God is the only one who can interpret dreams. So when the magicians of Egypt who did not have God, who did not have God's favor, they could not interpret Pharaoh's dream because they do not have the power of God. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Today I remember my fault." Pharaoh was angry with his servants, and he put me and the chief baker in custody of the captain of guards. He and I had dreamed on the same night. Each dream had its own meaning. Now a young Hebrew, a slave of the captain of guard, was with us. We told him our dream. He interpreted our dream for us, and each had its own interpretation. It turned out just the way he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, and the other man was hanged. So, the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Today I remember my fault," because previously the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. So he just remembered about Joseph once another dream came up. So he told him that he and the baker both had a dream and both had a separate interpretation. And then he interpreted it, and then it turned out just the way he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, the other man was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and they quickly brought him from the dungeon. He shaved, changed his clothes, and went to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I've heard it said about you that you can hear a dream and interpret it. I'm not able to, Mr. Joseph answered Pharaoh. It is God who gives Pharaoh a favorable answer. So Pharaoh went up to him and was like, like I have a dream and no one can interpret it, but I've heard it is said about you that you can hear a dream and interpret it. But Joseph correctly responded and correctly and humbly responded by saying, "I am not able to, because it is God who will give a fair or favorable answer." So he's like, "I'm not the one interpreting the dream. God is. God just tells me what the dream means, but I'm not the one, finding out. I'm not. It's not my wisdom, it's God's wisdom." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "In my dream, I was staying in the bank of the Nile, when 7 well-fed, healthy-looking cows came up from the Nile and grazed among the weeds. After them, 7 other cows, weak, very sickly and thin, came up. I never seen such sickly ones as these in all the land of Egypt. Then the sickly cows ate the first 7 well-fed cows. When they had devoured them, you could not tell that they had devoured them. Their appearance was as bad as it had been before. Then I woke up." So we get a little bit more details. So like the sickly cows are more sickly than he has seen in all the land of Egypt. And even when the sickly cows ate the 7 well-fed cows, they didn't change. They were still sickly and thin. In my dream, I also saw 7 heads of grain, fallen good, coming up on one start. After them, 7 heads of grain withered, dead and scorched by the east wind, sprouted up. The dead heads of the grain swallowed the 7 good ones. I told this to the magicians, but no one can tell me what it means. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dreams mean the same thing. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he's about to do. So first, Joseph says that both of his dreams mean the same thing, and he's saying like God's revealed to Pharaoh what he's about to do. So he's like reminding him that it's God who is working and not just him. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads are 7 years. This dream means the same thing. The 7 sick cows that come up after them are 7 years, and the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind are 7 years of famine. It's just as I told Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he's about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt. After them, 7 years of famine will take place. All the abundance in the land of Egypt will be forgotten. The famine will devastate the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered because of the famine that follows it, for the famine will be very severe. Since the dream was given twice to Pharaoh, it means that the matter has been determined by God, and it will carry out soon. So he just interpreted the dream it's 7 years of abundance and then 7 years of famine. And since the dream was given twice to Pharaoh, it means that the matter has been determined by God and will carry out soon. So God is like not like showing this as like something like, oh, I'm gonna do this and like I'm gonna say I'm gonna do this, but like if you repent, I'm not gonna do it. No, like this is something that's gonna happen, and he's just warning Pharaoh, so that he can prepare for it. So now let Pharaoh look for the discerning and wise men and set them over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this. Let him appoint them overseers over the land and take a fifth of the harvest of the land of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. Let them gather all the excess food during these good years that are coming. Under Pharaoh's authority, store the grain in cities so they may reserve it as food. The food will be reserved for the land during the 7 years of famine that will take place in the land of Egypt. Then the country will not be wiped out by the famine. So Joseph was like, oh, like, look for a wise man. So Joseph, like, probably, like, Joseph, is like, oh, like, well, you should probably look for a wise man and send him over the land of Egypt. And let him appoint him overseers over the land, take a fifth of the harvest of the land of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. Let him gather all the excess food during these good years that are coming. Under Pharaoh's authority, store the grain in cities so they may preserve its food. The food will be reserved for the land during the 7 years of famine that will take place in the land of Egypt. Then the country will not be wiped out by famine. So he's like, since there's going to be 7 years of abundance, you should take a fifth of it so that for the 7 years, so that when the other 7 years come, you will be able to provide food for all the people. The proposal pleased Pharaoh and all his servants, and he said to them, "Can we find anyone like this, a man who has God's spirit in him?" So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one as discerning and wise as you are. You will be over my house, and all my people will obey my commands. Only I, as king, will be greater than you." So Pharaoh heard his proposal and was like, this was a good proposal. And he said to him, can we find anyone like this? A man who has God's spirit in him. So he's like, because Joseph continually told him it's through God. So he knows that God is with him and that the spirit of God is in Joseph. Is in Joseph. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there's no one as astonishing and wise as you are. So since God is with you, there's no one better for the job. You will be over my house, and all my people will obey your commands. Only I, as king, will be greater than you. So this is showing because God made him like God is with him, and now he's in a position of authority that only the king, only the Pharaoh will be greater than you. This is kind of setting up Joseph's his dreams, which have been in Then Joseph had a dream. When he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. They were binding sheaves of grain in the field. Some of my sheep stood up, and your sheep scattered around and bowed down to my sheaf. Are you really going to reign over us? His brothers asked him. Are you really going to rule us? So they hated him even more because of the dream, what he had said. Then he had another dream and told it to his brothers. Look, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun, moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. Yeah, I had to skip a page. He told his father and brothers, and his father rebuked him. What kind of dream is this that you had? He said. Am I and your mother and your brothers really going to come and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in line. We start to see this matter come more into fruition because now he is in the only Pharaoh is greater than him in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh also said to Joseph, see, I'm placing you over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, clothed him with fine linen garments, and placed a gold chain around his neck. He had Joseph riding his son's chariot, and Solomon called out before him, make way, so he placed him over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am the Pharaoh, and no one will be able to raise his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt without your permission. Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zephaniah and gave him a wife, Anashana, daughter of Pharaoh, priest at On, and Joseph went out throughout the land of Egypt. So he had Joseph riding his son's chariot, and Solomon called out before him, make way, so he placed him over all the land of Egypt. So Pharaoh put him all over the land of Egypt just as he said he was. And he gave him an Egyptian name and a wife. And Joseph went out through the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Joseph led Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout the land of Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced outstanding harvests. Joseph gathered all the excess food in the land of Egypt during the 7 years and put it in the cities. He put the food in every city from the field around it. So Joseph stored up grain in such abundance, like the sand of the sea, that he had stopped measuring because it was beyond measure. So there was a 7 years of abundance. The land produced outstanding harvest. So first half of the dream that he interpreted is true, and since it's so much that there was abundance and that he stopped measuring because it was beyond measure. So there was so much grain, and even though he was only taking a fifth of it, there was still so much grain because there was a lot of abundance of the 7 years. 2 sons were born to Joseph before the years of famine arrived. Anshana, the daughter of Potiphar, born at the priest at On, bore them to him. Joseph named him the firstborn Mashon, and said, God has made me forget all my hardship and my whole family. And sent his son he named Ephraim, and said, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. So he had a firstborn Mashon, and said, God has made me forget all my hardships and my whole family. So he's God has taken me out of my hardships and made me forget my whole my other family who betrayed me. And the second son he named Ephraim and said, God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. So This land that used to afflict me, God has made me fruitful and really powerful and good. Then the 7 years of abundance in the land of Egypt came to end, and 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph said. There was famine in every land, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. So the 7 years of abundance in the land of Egypt came to end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph said. So Joseph, through God, correctly interpreted the dream. And there was a famine in every land, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. So it was not just the land of Egypt, but over, probably all the land of Canaan. And maybe even over, the world. But it just says, there was land in every land. There was famine in every land. When the whole land of Egypt was stricken with famine, and the people cried out to Pharaoh for food, Pharaoh told all of Egypt, "Go to Pharaoh Joseph and do whatever he tells you." Now famine had spread across the whole region, so Joseph opened his storehouse and sold grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. Every land that came to Joseph in Egypt to buy grain, but the famine was severe in every land. So people were starting to come to Egypt to get grain for them, because the famine was really severe on every land. So now so now Pharaoh is not just the most powerful parts of Egypt. Now Egypt is probably the most powerful country because everybody needs food from it, and without Egypt, everybody would die. So now Joseph is the second most powerful man in the most powerful country. But yeah. This is Genesis chapter 41, which has Joseph interpreting Pharaoh's dream through the power of God. And then Pharaoh putting Joseph into a really high position, and to the position only Pharaoh is superior to. And God made it that way, so God was with him so that he would be exalted. And then Joseph doing what he said he was gonna do, and preparing to do preparing for the 7 years of famine, and being wise with all the grain and food. And yeah. So yeah. If any experienced Christian sees this and I said something wrong, please correct me. And if you like this video, like it. And if you think I'm doing something good, subscribe. And I will see you the next day if the Lord wills. Bye.